Well, good morning, everyone. This is Angie with Producers XL, and you're tuned in to the podcast, The Long Term. And we hold this podcast the last Tuesday of every month. And I have to tell you, I am so excited about this particular podcast. I know I kind of told you all because you kind of subscribe and you can listen on demand or you can come in live when we're having our podcast. But I told you at the beginning of this year that we're going to kind of take this podcast not just about long-term care insurance, but really just anything insurance related or anything that really touches the industry related. So I am super, super excited to have with me this month on my podcast, Kelsey Spencer. She's the Associate Director of Distribution Partnerships with Grail. If some of you are familiar with this, you may be saying, well, this is kind of interesting. Others of you might be saying, I have never in my life heard of Grail. And that's exactly why I brought Kelsey on. I was supposed to actually, just right at about 2 weeks ago, I serve on the NALBA board of advisors, and we were having our first in-person meeting in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Grail home office. And I was just sick as a dog and couldn't bring myself to fly on the airplane. Nobody needed whatever it was that I had. And so I didn't get to go there, but I got to see the photos of the rest of my board members that were out there. And Kelsey, I can't thank you enough for being on my podcast this month. And we are going to talk about some incredibly exciting stuff about Grail. So thank you again. And please introduce yourself a little bit and tell them a little bit about you and Grail. And I've got a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angie, for having me here today. As you said, my name's Kelsey Spencer, and I lead our distribution partnerships at Grail. Just to be clear, Grail is the company that I work with, and Gallery is the test that we're going to be talking about today. So, Gallery is our product here at Grail. I do have a background in the life insurance industry. So my entire career before starting at Grail, the biotech company, was in the life insurance industry working at a life insurance carrier. So what a cool shift in career to be able to move from a Midwestern mutual company selling insurance to a fast-paced biotech company based in Silicon Valley, California. So very excited to be here. Very excited to talk about how Grail and the life insurance industry are really partnering together with the shared goal to change the future of cancer mortality.
I absolutely love this. So I think it was last fall, um, we do an IMO industry meeting, and that was my first introduction. And there was a lot of prep work prior to us all getting together in person about Grail is going to be present. We're going to have a gallery test. This is what it is. And if you all are paying attention, I'm obviously holding this I'm trying to build the suspense to let you kind of know what this is. So as Kelsey mentioned, Grail is the company, and actually Google them. Their logo is so cool, right? Biotech early detection. The I in Grail looks like what kind of, I suppose, would look like a blood marker, if you will, if you were to look at it. But it's really cool. I think it's ingenious. But Gallery is the test. So I want, and I promise you, I do try to bring everything back a little bit facing to long-term care and the insurance industry with that. But this really touches life insurance first, right? Kelsey, we've got life insurance carriers really kind of taking a hold of this and saying, this is pretty cool. Now, you may say, well, why would life insurance carriers think this is what? Well, it's not smoke and mirrors, folks, right? They want you to live a long life. It's good for them. It's good for you. But Kelsey, you've got some folks on the life insurance side of the house that have actually partnered with Grail and offer the Gallery test, right?
Yeah, so we have multiple life insurance carriers that we're already partnering with for pilots. So we have a lot of partnership pilots happening. We also are moving into the expansion phase now. So carriers are seeing their pilots, really panning out even better than they had hoped, and they're expanding with us. And we're also seeing some really cool innovations in, not just in in-force offerings, which is primarily where our partnerships lie, but also in new products as well.
That is so cool. So when we think about, okay, let's kind of jump into this. The Gallery test. What is it?
Yeah, the Gallery test is the first of its kind multi-cancer early detection test. So we take a blood draw, so a simple blood draw like you would get at a doctor's appointment for a cholesterol screening. With a simple blood draw, we're able to detect a cancer signal across more than 50 different types of cancer. The kit that you would get in the mail if you ordered the Gallery test is about the size of a small box of tissues. You take that into a lab, you get your blood drawn. The lab will then ship it to one of the Grail locations, either the one in Menlo Park, California, or the one that Angie mentioned in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. It gets processed, and then within about 2 weeks, we're able to see if there's a cancer signal detected in your blood at the time the test is taken. So it's not a predictive test saying, you're likely to get cancer in 5 years or 10 years. It's nothing like that. It's if there is a current cancer signal in your body at the time you take the test.
Kelsey, I don't know why I get so excited about stuff like this. And I think it's because, and everybody typically on my podcast kind of knows my history. My mom did not have very good health at all. And I am just determined to not want to walk down her health path. And so for me, being proactive is so much more exciting to me than being reactive. I don't look, they make a pill for everything, right? My goal is to not have, I want to delay that as long as possible. So the minute I heard that the Gallery test and it was being offered at this industry meeting I was at, hey, do you want to participate in this? I was all on board because stop and think about what routine cancer screens does a person have today, which typically starts at a certain age. We start looking for that, but it's nowhere close to 50. It's more like what, 4 or 5 different tests that you get tested for now?
Yeah. So there's currently only screenings for 5 different types of cancer, routine screenings for 5 different types of cancer. And I'm just going to list these off. Let's see if you guys can figure out on the podcast here, figure out if every single person is able to take all 5 of these. So the 5 types of cancer are breast cancer, cervical cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. Now, I don't think there's probably a single person on this call who's eligible to take all 5 of those, right? But those are the only routine screenings that are out there. So we typically see that 70% of cancer deaths are caused by cancers that don't have routine screenings. There's only 5.
Yep. Yep. And you know what's really interesting to me is we kind of bellyache about being tested for that. But I have to tell you, at my industry meeting, when I was offered the Gallery test and I took it, there is this wonderful sense of relief when you get your results back. But I will tell you, there was a gentleman that ended up with a marker, and it was caught so early that his treatment was so far less than if he would have waited until it became symptomatic, right? And that's the whole key of this, is that early, and we're talking early detection. And like you said, Kelsey, it's not a matter of oh well, you have this. It's a marker, but it's not just a generic, right? It kind of hones them into a part of your body.
Yeah, the nice thing about the Gallery test, one of the many nice things, is it doesn't just tell you, hey, you may have cancer, good luck, go find it. It actually directs with a cancer signal of origin on the report that you get, it directs the diagnostic workup process. So it would say, for example, your cancer signal of origin is, detected in the head and neck, or it's detected in the prostate. That way your doctor, whoever's doing the workup doesn't have to look on your entire body to see
Mhm.
where the cancer may be. They're pretty certain it's going to be in, either the head or neck or the prostate,
Mhm.
respectively.
Right, because the Gallery test is not designed, it's not, we're going to ship you a box in lieu of you going to your doctor. This is in
No.
conjunction with your medical treatment that you should be having done on an annual basis anyway.
Yep, the Gallery test is definitely a valuable complement to existing cancer screening opportunities, but it is not a replacement for them. So keep getting those 5 routine screenings. Keep getting your colonoscopy, keep getting your mammograms. These are the Gallery test is just a complement to the existing screening.
And I mentioned that it was offered to me, and I want everybody on the podcast to know that this is available to you. And Kelsey and I are going to delve into that. So just keep in mind, this is not an unattainable, if you're like, that's really interesting. I'm kind of interested in that. We're going to talk a little bit later in this podcast about this, but I mean, this Gallery test is available. But Kelsey, let me ask you this. So is this Gallery test, this blood draw, are they using this in underwriting for life insurance right now?
So we want to be very clear here. The Gallery test is actually prohibited from being used in underwriting. Our contract says that with the carriers. Nobody except for the policyholder or whoever's getting the Gallery test, the patient, nobody is and their physician. So nobody except for the policyholder and the physician that they write down that they want to get their test results will receive an individual's test results. So the Gallery test is not being used in underwriting, and nobody except for the person who takes the test and their designated physician are going to receive test results.
I think that's wonderful, because I know a lot of times we talk about people taking that 23andMe test, and is that at some point going to be submissible in underwriting? But right now, the way it stands per the Gallery, the contract, you guys are not submitting this information to the underwriting to say, hey, look, we actually did find this. Although we go through underwriting, and there have been instances where someone's actually, for whatever reason, had a paramed exam, and it detected something that sent the applicant to the doctor to find out that there was something there. But how cool is it? Over 50 different cancer markers that you can, out of a simple blood draw, that you can be checked for, to give you that peace of mind. And Kelsey, I when I was talking to you earlier, I said, how often should one take this Gallery test?
Mm-hmm. I do want to loop back to what you were saying about the underwriting for just a second, but our data actually suggests that the maximum benefit of Gallery testing comes with annual testing. So once a year, annual Gallery testing, maximum benefit.
Yeah.
Just kind of looping back to what you were saying about this in the underwriting process, or I get questions all the time. My main role is to work with producers and distributors within life insurance, within the life insurance industry. So the people who sell the carriers policies, right? And so we get this question a lot, where they're worried about it hurting their business if their client were to take the Gallery test and get a positive. But let's be really transparent here. It's cancer that impacts insurability. It's not the Gallery test. The Gallery test, like I said, is not used for underwriting purposes, so it's not going to have a negative impact on your client's insurability. But let's keep in mind, if a positive cancer signal is detected, any subsequent diagnostic workups that occur from a positive test, that may appear on your client's medical records, and that could impact future insurability. But if you really think through that, a positive cancer signal arises, you may have just saved your client's life, right?
I was so hoping you were going to say that, Kelsey.
Yeah.
I was like, they might not get that policy they wanted, but you may have just given them their life.
And Angie, what better sales opportunity is there than making sure your client has the appropriate amount of coverage in place before they take the Gallery test, so they're covered either way?
Kelsey, I want to actually pivot into this conversation. So, right, we're talking about anybody in the reach of this podcast. This Gallery test is available to you. I highly encourage, and I'm going to kind of transition here. I'm going to highly encourage. I don't care if you work with me, if you have another BGA, I don't care. If you're interested in the Gallery test, you must email me, and I will make sure that you have access. That my email, Angie@producersxl.com. Phone number, 800-541-6705. If you're remotely interested in this, because Kelsey just touched upon something that I think is really important. So all of you know that, right, our agency's multifaceted in product lines: life, long-term care, Medicare, disability. There was a little bullet point on here that says, does Medicare and Medicaid cover the cost? And the answer to that is no, not at this time. There's stuff written into legislation that doesn't allow that. Not that things can't change in the future, but we all have, if you're an advisor, you have clients, you work with them. And even though we maybe don't like to say we have A clients, B clients, C clients, or we've got our high end, the ones that we work with that we touch often, Kelsey, there's an opportunity that they can actually offer this to their clients, right?
Oh my goodness, I mean, your clients may already have access to this through certain programs. So you want to make sure that you're really up to date on what this offering is. Because if your client comes to you and they say, for example, hey, I have a John Hancock Vitality policy and I heard about this Gallery test that I can get through John Hancock Vitality, and you don't know anything about it, or you've never heard of it, or maybe you heard of it and you didn't take the opportunity to try it yourself. You're not going to be as, up to date as maybe your client looks for. So you want to make sure that you're really staying up to date on all of these features that your clients' policies have and are being added to every day. So that's one thing. Your clients probably, in some cases, already have access to this through various programs. And if you don't know if your clients have access to these programs, feel free to either reach out to myself or to Angie. She can get you in contact with me and we can work through and see which of your clients may be currently eligible. But outside of that, your clients may be eligible through even their employer offerings. We have a huge employer team that maybe they get this test as an employee benefit. And then outside of those kind of complementary offerings that we're seeing in different spaces, you could be the person who presents this opportunity to them potentially in advance of maybe even their current position. And I say that, I bring that up because we have concierge doctors and we have just regular primary care doctors who are already offering this to their clients. How cool would it be if you suggested something to your clients to look into that maybe they just talked to their ultra fancy concierge doctor about who just brought them this? So a lot of different angles you can take with offering the Gallery test to clients, and really the possibilities are endless for you to set yourself apart in this space at this moment.
I think, I mean, what a huge value. And I know when I was at my industry meeting, they actually showed a video of a financial advisor that offered this to some of his clients. And one of them took and actually came back with a positive marker and then actively went through some cancer treatments. But they were so appreciative of the value brought to them from their advisor, in the fact that, I mean, it saved his life. Because you think about, if the detection is so early, then the treatment should be somewhat minimized. And I'm not going to say that, I mean, that's always the case. What if you've had the underlying cancer and just were never checked, right? So we're not saying it's always an early detection, but it is, it can absolutely be life changing. And the fact that we're bringing something like this to, primarily, right, to the, in our world, in the insurance industry world, it's coming from the life insurance space. And that is super exciting. But relating it back, cancer is one of the leading causes for people to go on long-term care claim. And a lot of times folks don't think about that. And since this is kind of a long-term care facing podcast, but yet I want to reach to everything else, this is incredible that the insurance industry in and of itself is kind of starting to grab. I mean, John Hancock, I mean, can you get a whole lot bigger than that? I mean, it's already a part. Some of these carriers are getting so on board with this that they're kind of going in on it and saying, yeah, if you have a Vitality product, you can have the Gallery test. I mean, that's incredible. And to even be able to say, coming through me, I mean, this isn't an insurance product. It's a Gallery. It's a blood draw. It's early detection cancer screening. And if you can actually offer, like, if you came to me and said, Angie, I've got 5 clients right now I'd like to offer this to. I also want to take it for myself and I want to give it to my spouse. Whatever the case is, I've got 10 people in my family. I mean, if we need to talk about volume discounts, Kelsey, I'm sure you guys would entertain that
Let's
too,
talk
wouldn't you?
about it. Yeah. 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 And Angie, I just wanted to talk real quick about who you were talking about with the patient testimonial. So that is, I mean, I'm still pretty young in my career, right? I don't have the insurance carrier decades of service under my belt as most people who work at insurance carriers do, but that producer and client testimonial where the producer was able to offer Gallery to his client. That was a career accomplishment of a lifetime for me. I'm sure of it. I don't know how much better I can do than talking directly to that producer who had a life insurance carrier offering for a list of his clients and encouraging him and helping him and working with him to get that message out, making him feel supported and understanding enough about Gallery to offer this to his, really treasured clients, and having a cancer signal and having Rich, the patient, come out of that on the other side of his cancer journey is just absolutely unbelievable, and something that I never thought that I would get the opportunity to work on, because this didn't exist, even when I was setting those dreams out, years ago. So such a cool opportunity.
Well, and Kelsey, I don't know if you are open to this, but I know when you and I spoke as well, I mean, you've kind of got almost a personal relationship with somebody that you wish you would have had access to prior to as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not unique in this. If you ask everybody on the call here, Angie, if they had a cancer experience, that they knew somebody that had cancer, or
Hmm.
they themselves have had cancer, it's not a unique experience. But yeah, I am in the throes of that right now with a really good family friend. Actually, my best friend's mother found out that she had pancreatic cancer. Um, and then the very next day, my friend Sarah found out that she was pregnant with her first child. So um, that news of finding out for my friend Sarah that your mother has pancreatic cancer, and the next day finding out that you're pregnant with your first child is just a very difficult
Hmm.
series of facts to look at. And we didn't believe that the mother was ever going to get to see um, the the birth of her
Hmm.
first grandchild. And so, um, that is what drives me. I started at Grail that very month. A lot happened in that month for our community there. But I do it for people like Lynn, who found out she had pancreatic cancer. I do it for her daughter, who found out that her mother had pancreatic cancer when she,
Hmm.
had a baby. And I do it for the baby who's now 2 years old, who doesn't get to
Hmm.
spend, time with her grandmother. So
Yep.
it's not a unique story. We hope that with Gallery detecting cancer early, hopefully when it can be cured, we find it in earlier stages, that we don't get to the point where we have to have miracles. We don't have to have these Hail
Right.
Mary treatments. We can detect cancer early when we already have, a lot of treatments for early stage cancers that exist right now.
So with that, just that brought a thought to my mind. Does that mean that if someone's ever had a cancer diagnosis at any level, should they never take the Gallery test?
So we say at 3 years after you've had cancer is when you can start taking Gallery again.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's interesting, right? Because I think even those that have had cancer or known someone that's had cancer, right? I think you certainly don't want to live your days with that thought, but I don't know if that thought is ever out of your mind that, is it going to come back? Where's it going to come back? How long do I have before it comes back? I interestingly enough, and Kelsey, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I had a classmate that I'm pretty good friends with, and he ended up with I don't know what type of cancer it was, but it was fairly aggressive. And I was telling him about Grail and the Gallery test and all of that. And I was a little taken back by his response. And his response was, I wouldn't want to know.
Oh,
And
we
I
get that a
said,
lot, but
I was so taken aback. I'm like, but why? If it can be such an early detection. And he said, well, let me ask you this, Angie. He said, have you ever had cancer? And I said, no, I have not. And he goes, the treatment I had to go through,
Mhm.
I don't ever want to have to think about doing that again. So knowing in advance that there's a marker, he goes, I don't know if I would want to know that. And obviously you guys hear that a lot. And I don't know
Yeah,
why that took me back, but he's right. I've never gone through that.
he is right. And that's a really interesting nuance to the phrases I get like that are usually people who have not already had cancer. And so when they say, well, I don't know if I want to know, uh,
Right.
they if you even just take a breath, look at them for a moment, it clicks with them what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It clicks with them is I don't what they're saying is I don't want cancer.
Right.
When they think about it a moment further, it then clicks with them is I want to know if I have cancer early enough that I can knock it out quickly and easily,
Right.
right? So it
Right.
just but what you're saying is such a unique nuance to that. It's not something that I had really considered before either. And I don't know how I would respond for that because everybody's journey is just so different. And, obviously that's the hardest thing that anybody can go through, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
understand that and I'm sympathetic to that. Wow. Yeah.
Interesting. Kelsey, what what else do we need to know about Gale and the gallery test?
It is out there. It's going to start being more mainstream even than it is right now. You may start hearing it in a little bit more common places. I know we have teams working at Grail on the health system side. We have a clinic team who goes from clinic to clinic trying to get this message out there. Like I said, we have a really large employee benefit space. We have a first responders team, which is really cool, who
Oh, that
go
is cool.
to firefighters and first responders across the country and offer this to those who are public servants doing such a good thing for us in our communities, but are also really put in the line of fire, so to speak, with
Mm-hmm.
cancer risk. So we have a team that's partnering with unions and such who are going out and getting first responders tested. And then, of course, we have the life insurance industry, where this is just one more approach to be able to reach people before it becomes, in Medicaid, Medicare, and health insurance spaces. We are not content with waiting until this gets, passed
Yeah.
into that space.
Yeah. I think everybody would agree with you there. We want you guys to just charge forward as hard as and as fast as you can, knowing the due diligence. And I so wish I would have been at because I know they got to tour the lab and all of the incredible work that's being done there, right? The research, the
Yeah.
development, and everything that you're doing behind the scenes where we just simply say, oh, it's just a blood draw. Yeah, but the insightful, wonderful technology and testing that goes on behind the scenes at the Grail facilities is truly life changing. It is truly life changing, and the fact that our industry, one that we should all be very proud of, whether you're on the life insurance, the disability, the Medicare, the long-term care, right? It's the insurance industry as one of those many facets picking up this torch and helping you guys bring this to commonplace, to common conversations. So all of you on the podcast, as far reaching as this can get, don't let Grail and the gallery test leave your mind. Keep it top of mind. Reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, if you want to explore the test. How do I get my hands on it? I've got X amount of people I'd like to offer this to. Whatever that looks like for you in your practice, remember, it is truly life-changing. Early detection, cancer screening, over 50 different types of cancers. It's groundbreaking. And I love that we can bring this out here to the public and to the ears of the other folks in this insurance industry. Kelsey, I can't, I want to make sure that you have closing comment, but I can't thank you enough for being willing to come on my podcast. I mean, I don't even, yeah, we did meet in person, didn't we? I'm pretty sure
We
we did.
did. Yeah.
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 Yep. I
One
thought
time.
we did too, because I'm staring at your business card and I'm like, how else would I have gotten that? So this, she just mailed
I
it to me.
emailed it to you. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
Um,
super exciting. And I want to give you closing comment.
Sure. Well, first of all, I wanted to invite you to actually come and tour the lab for real this time, Angie. We'll give you we'll give you some vitamin C and we'll make sure we get you there. But I'd also like to invite your podcast followers to come as well. We could make a whole event out of it. We could get a group of, your industry leaders together, come tour. You get a blood draw right at the lab. And I can also take you around to Raleigh's finest restaurants. Just kidding there. But we'll take you out to dinner as well. If you come and join us at our lab, it's really quite an impressive facility. And it's so important to be able to showcase what we're doing and have that transparency around it. We never want anybody to feel like we're doing anything, behind a curtain. We want you to come, we want you to visit, we want you to meet us, we want you to see our space. So, and I strongly encourage you and invite you to come join us. Happy to host. And then just thank you for taking the time to listen to this message. Hopefully, you'll be hearing a lot more from us as we continue to go at our industry events. If you attended an industry event, I think you'd be hard pressed not to find a Grail and Gallery presence there because of the hard work that our team has done. And I just really want to give a shout out to our team. We have a really bright, hardworking group of people who come from both the life insurance industry and outside of the life insurance industry, working together toward a common goal of just detecting cancer early when it can be cured.
I love that. I love that. Kelsey, thank you very much. And we've already talked about having a follow-up podcast to this. So be on the lookout. Maybe it's next month, maybe it's sometime in the summer, who knows, but I promise you, Kelsey will be back on and we're going to talk a little bit more, not the same conversation. It'll be a different conversation, but Kelsey will be joining us again sometime here soon on another podcast. So thank you for your time. All of you have a great day. And again, keep doing what you're doing. It's a noble industry. It's a noble cause, what you're doing, helping all of your clients with their insurance needs. So thank you. We'll have our next podcast next month. Thanks for tuning in.